Hello everyone, this is Unkind Omen here, and today I am going for a take 2 on nullsec exploration as an alpha character, and today I am trying to do it better. Since the last video where I was first hauling and then going for nullsec, I have read a little bit about the ways on how to extract yourself out of nullsec better, and today I am going to try out another strategy. So the idea is basically that you will carry not only those needlejack filaments that bring you into nullsec, but also two filaments that are quite costly and that allow you to exit first to Pochven, which is basically part of former HiSec space that have turned into nullsec recently, and then using the second filament you can get out of Pochven into the actual high security or low security space next to some Empire HiSec. So another improvement that I'm making, instead of taking one medium secure container, I'm taking 3 small secure ones, so that I will be able to stash 3 times before I will need to pick up things and move them with high risk by flying through gates. So let's see. The feat is pretty much the same. So I'm still having probe launcher and then neutralizer for, well, in the case there will be some PvP activity, I might need this one, it might help a little bit. And then I'm having micro warp drive, relic analyzer, the best that I can use with this alpha clone, and then 2 scan range finding arrays to improve my ability to locate anomalies, damage control, and inertial stabilizers to make ourselves as agile as possible. This is especially useful if we end up in low security space after extraction, then we will need this agility to be able to more or less safely travel through low sec space. And I'm carrying 2 flights of drones so that I can do some damage again in case of some PvP activity, but our chances of survival are negligible. That is only useful if we are going to get caught by some dedicated tacklers that does not really have any guns on it. That might help us tiny little bit. Okay, that being said, let's head out of Jita and get ourselves into nullsec space. I will use my safe spot in Sobaseki to jump, and as far as I recall you need to be in a fleet. To do that you can use this right click on the capacitor and pilot from fleet with. This means that you are forming fleet with yourself. Those filaments only operate on fleets because they are intended as PvP improving PvP helpers basically. As you can see, they have this -5, which means that they are all targeted at fleets of 5 people. And let's get onto our filament spot, which we have used in previous videos to jump into Abyss space. But now instead let's use it to get into nullsec. Final checks that we have drones, we have probes, we have containers, and we have filaments. That's basically all the equipment that we need. And activate the needlejack filament. You can see that it is saying that yeah, we will get this log off timer, and before you can do that you need to say to set your security at least to partial safety, because this gives you basically a PvP activity flag. You can reset it back to green status to avoid accident later when you return to HiSec space. Now, from here we have, well, we ended up in VNL3K, and the local here is 3 people including us. So I will open .lan and check what is the status of the system, and meanwhile I will be warping somewhere, and I will use Ctrl B to create a bookmark while I'm flying. So let's wait until the distance gets, yeah, about 5 AU, and press set create button, and we have created a spot in between 2 objects. Normally, if you want to create a real good spot, you need to first warp to this intermediate one, and then from there you want to warp to another place to make sure that your spot is not on a straight line between any 2 objects. Okay, this is some Stargate owned by players. So we can expect that this system will have quite heavy traffic. And owners fraternity dot. I don't know these guys, but NL 3K Veil of Silence. So let's see what .lan tells us. Okay, .lan tells me that this system is navigated quite frequently, and which is worse, it is basically a transport line between the 4-H, which seems to be like the hub of this region where people live a lot, and it is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jumps away, so I would say it's not safe to stay here. So I will immediately start traveling in direction of a little bit more calm constellation. To do that, I will first align to a Stargate. I will not use this one because it's owned by players. And the problem here is that normally when you warp when you warp in the system, you don't want to end up warping directly to a Stargate because it can be bubbled. And in this case, there is no object nearby, like a planet, that we could have warped to before. And also let's use our scanner periodically to look up if there are some people nearby. Let's check that it is set to 360 degrees angle and maximum range, and just press V periodically to update this view. This will show up any non-cloaked ships that are capable of showing on the D-scan. Almost all of them are, and yeah, from there you will be able to see if somebody tries to scan you down with probes or something. It's not 100% reliable. There are some ships that can avoid being shown here, including cloaked ships, but for the purpose it is fine. And also let's check on the .lan map. Have there been any NPC kills nearby? Yes, so 2 jumps away there is system ZA0-L-U, where a lot of NPC kills happened in the last hour. And basically the jumps are heading there, and then they also head to Tribute, where we are going to go. Let's see in the map if we have any better way of getting to 1GB. Not really. The only way that we can do it is by maybe warping to their whatever Prozac Palace structure, but I would not really do that. There is one way of getting slightly less direct approach by warping via planet 11. So let's take that route. Because normally what we don't want is we don't want to be on the line between this Stargate and this Stargate. Everything else should be more or less okay. And I am not going to scan anything in this system, even if there are any anomalies nearby, because this is just too active. 25 jumps in an hour, meaning that, well, roughly every couple of minutes there will be somebody jumping in and seeing us in the local. They might decide to do something. Also, there are a lot of structures here, so people will log in, log out, and disturb our activity very significantly. Okay, next one is T-N, and there is a lot of people here, like very much. Let's see, T-N, oh sorry, T-Z, so this one. Okay, let's warp onto one of these moons. Always warp at different ranges, don't just always warp at 100, because that's where people usually will expect you to warp, if there is anything. And you can see that something was happening here very recently, some wrecks of the ships, and the mobile depot deployed. Well, the depot might be belonging to some other outsider. Okay, but at least we don't see any nearby activity, so let's warp to the Stargate. Okay, just NPCs, no bubbles. And then I'm heading to the system QFF, which is a system in Tribute region. We need to take 2 jumps via Tribute to get back to that more calm constellation nearby. And let's see, let's first warp somewhere. Don't stay at the gate, even cloaked, with our default cloak protection. Let's make ourselves a spot in the system as well, while doing so. And then, yeah, we're looking at a QFF gate, which is, well, pretty far away from everything else. But at least, again, we don't want to be flying directly there, so let's warp from the center of the system in direction of this QFF. Another bunch of wrecks, and no ships visible. Okay, no warp disruption bubbles either here, just NPCs. Okay, we are finally in an empty system. That is a good sign. It means that we are heading the right way. But just because it is empty doesn't mean that we are completely safe here. Let's see where we are. We are nearby somehow. Okay, this one is in the center of this solar planet, and it also has planets nearby and moons. So let's warp to another moon.
Warp drive active.
Let's keep creating bookmarks, because those are useful in emergencies. now we're going for the 2CG system.
Drive active.
Okay, there is an encounter surveillance system here, which even has some money in it, but no one farming this system. We also see some wrecks on the D-scan, which means that somebody completed something, some anomalies probably. And we need to get to Y5J system, which is where there are nothing nearby, but also there have been no one in previous star system, and there have been no one in this star system, which is usually a good sign that this one is not camped, because normally people will leave the system which has bubble in it empty, and then they will put their own scout in the previous system, still to see that somebody is going into the system and ensure the timing. But in our case, we just need to get through. And when you don't see two systems, when you see people in two systems consequently, then it is more or less safe to assume that there are no camps, because people don't camp without eyes normally. Okay. And now from here, let's start our scanning activities. Let's start with creating bookmark and placing it somewhere in a deeper space. Yep, like this. And now let's open scanner and see what we have here. While we were doing this, we have almost used up 13 minutes, so it's only 2 minutes left before we can start using the filaments. And we have 4 signatures in this system. Let's warp and deploy our probes. Still no one is in local, so we are more or less safe to scan peacefully. I start scanning from the cities, from the center of the solar system, because that's where most of the anomalies will end up. Okay, now +2. That's not good sign. And the Tango. How big are the chances that somebody is going to hunt us down? Let's recover our probes and prepare to do some emergency maneuvering. Because, okay, they disappeared. Fine. That works for me. Not that somebody else. That's a lot of people. Let's locate ourselves in the system. Keep checking the scan to see if somebody is launching probes to check us out, because for them, they are likely to see that we are very active. Okay. How safe it would be to assume that this Procurer is not a combat one. Probably they are not going to catch us with Procurer. So just continue scanning for now, but more actively paying attention to what's going on in the system. Yeah, and this looked like a more or less calm pocket in terms of jumps. But something is really off. There are no stargates owned by players, so this should not be the case of just people using some alternative routes that we don't see. Okay, and that procurer is gone as well. The good thing is that I'm doing this scanning outside of European and American prime time. David Kader, I think combat recons don't show up on D-scan. The ones that don't use cloak, they don't show up on D-scan because of the passive ability. Okay, I can ignore this gas site. For example, Rook. You can see that it has roll bonus that cannot be detected by directional scanners. And here we have okay, we have found a relic site. That's very good. The only thing that's left is to scan it out, because it might be... yeah, it's level 4, that's the hardest one, which means that we will need to use basically this extra tactic of positioning probes in a specific pattern to scan it out. So first of all, let's launch a secure container for ourselves. This one will persist in space even after downtime. It will not collapse after 2 hours, which the containers normally do. So I will approach it. And I will deposit all the extraction filaments, which cost 6.5 million ISK there. Okay, now let's adjust our formation. So the first thing that you can do when you are in a situation where you're already at the lowest range towards signature is to just use Control and scroll in your probes closer to the location of this object. So first position our center of the formation correctly and do it this way. Let's check if this will be enough with this fit. And let's save location of our small secure container. Okay, that was enough. That's very good. So let's do this one, because this is basically in theory, this is the best loot that we can get here. It's not guaranteed that it will have anything valuable. Maybe 10-15 millions for this one. But some of them can contain quite more. Okay, so we have 1 rubble, 3 remains, and 3 ruins. I don't recall which. I think ruins and remains are yellow and red, but I don't recall which one is which, so let's start with the closest one. Lock it up, and let's remove our map because it will take extra space. And yeah, disable micro drive when we get there, because we don't want to have extra signature and let other people to scan us easier. Sorry for the noises, my microphone decided to have an explorational trip of their own. So 3, 2, let's not try to approach things at the moment. I want to explore more. 3, okay, good. 2, okay. 1. Okay, probably now we can open this one. 4. Antivirus, that's bad, but maybe not deadly yet. 2s are good. Okay, this is bad. We need to kill it immediately. 1. Yeah, this feels like a yellow core actually. Let's skip this one because we might need to use it on antivirus. But we don't have to at the moment, we have still places to explore. Okay, let's open this. Let's open here. Let's see what we have here. Okay, virus suppressor. Okay, we have to kill this one immediately. Well, we are dead. We are double dead. Yeah, this is definitely a red core. The red, yellow and green are basically different tiers of complexity. You will be able to hack greens ones very easily, even with very low skills. Yellows are just a little bit more challenging, but red ones, well, for those you want to have really Tech 2 components and Omega skills, but if you don't have this kind of luxury, then what can you do? Poof, that's all not nice. Especially considering that we only have like 20 virus strength, so with this virus suppressor it becomes really expensive to kill one. And normally the game will play along a little bit. As far as I have noticed, second attempt is always slightly easier to complete, but interestingly enough, we have actually 25 strength, but when virus suppressor suppresses our strength in half, it actually gets us down to 10, not to... Well, maybe it's not half, maybe it's flat number, I don't know. Okay, that's useful. And then we have nothing here as well. The chances that we will be able to complete this one are now very low. Okay, at least we can do this. Using this kernel rot on suppressors is probably one of the best ways. Actually, kernel rot is just awesome. And yeah, we're dead. What's there? If the kernel is somewhere behind this, I will not be able to open it. So... and it is likely. More than likely now. It is pretty much guaranteed. Yep. Well, let's suicide. Let's go for another container. As you can see, loot from these is not guaranteed. Let's hope there was nothing really expensive. I probably should have brought a cargo scanner with me. You're welcome. It's always nice to have live people here. We have a lot of containers, or basically caches, but I don't really want to open them, because they might contain good things, but they might contain a bad thing as well. And the worst case scenario is suppressor or restoration node, and we really cannot afford extra ones. I feel very unlucky today with these. Okay, that was good. So we have 25 and we still have... yeah, we will be able to kill it. So yeah, the remains are yellow cores. And we got 1 million out of 1. Yeah, that's nothing. And then ruins are the red ones. The ruins are supposed to be again the ones that produce the highest value loot, but it is not a guarantee. It is more or less random. And also I need to change the title of the stream. Three. Keep getting threes. also use this one up immediately when you get it, because basically there is no difference when you use it up. And let's kill this one. Okay, great. This red core was easier than the previous yellow one. But we got lucky, I guess. 4 million loot. Not much. Because those maps are random, some of them are much easier to get around, but others will have very tight bridges, and if you get some firewall or antivirus node or suppressor inside those bridges, then you are basically doomed. Like here, you have to pass through it and then another one. Great. Yeah, this core does not like me. Okay, there is something. Let's see. Okay, we can use this to hack these more efficiently. Okay, we can probably open this one now. Nothing special. What else here? Okay, let's kill restoration node. Firewall we don't care about. Yeah, now that looks not so great, but let's see. 10 damage. Yeah, we can kill it. Yeah, normally you really want to have your cargo scanner with you. I probably will bring one next time, because that gets really annoying. Spending a lot of time hacking things that you don't really need, well, it's not just a waste of time, it's additional risks for your operation. Okay, so I think the most interesting one is here. Whatever that is, there is something. Let's see. Okay, yeah, we got our green core. Rubble. Pff, real rubble. 4,000 ISK. 4,000, not million, not 100,000, not even 10,000. Just 4,000 ISK. It's good that we opened it before there is anything on the board, because basically if we didn't, it would have been really bad. And by the way, I just thought about it, maybe CCP need to make a board game out of this. It This might be quite interesting short board game for like 5 minutes, and maybe you can make even like teamwork, improve it a little bit in terms of complexity, or leave it single player. Oh, come on. Okay. This one will kill us. Anything will kill us if we try to open them, so let's just... Well, there is nothing to hope for actually, because these are 5s and there is a 4, yeah. So we have to just complete this in the worst way. Okay, and this one gave us 12 million, that's good. I think these enhanced words, yeah, those are the thing that gives the most value to this exploration. And those were remains, and let's go on to the last ruins. Okay, we just got a lot of extra help from the game. Having 2 utilities popping up immediately when you start is just basically, I don't know really how badly I need to mess this up to just lose, but let's see, maybe the game will make it up. Yeah, for example, like this. Okay. It's fine. It's laughable. Okay, so we got 17.5 million ISK. I would say that for today I would rather go back to the high security space, but I don't know. Let's see what we have in this system first. Let's warp and put our loot into the secure container, and let's scan down the 2 other anomalies. And I will not scan any further from here, because, well, that's something already. And the whole point of this stream not to make a lot of money for me, but rather to show how you can do this. And the most important part are those return filaments. Okay, we are next to our container. Let's drop things there. And don't forget to return your formation to more or less pristine look after you made it narrower. I think there should be some button here. Pinpoint formation, spread formation. Yep, you need to have this pinpoint one. And I will start with larger range because last time these two did not show up, so they are probably somewhere on the outskirts. So as I said, scanning down to these two last ones, and I will then head back to high security space with whatever loot I got. It's not really urgent for me to just make money here, just showcasing the process. And yeah, with alpha skills you cannot unfortunately go 2 steps down on every scan, so you have to take 1 step at a time. Okay, in a combat site, we don't care about these, we cannot really complete them with our ship. When you have this kind of formation, when there are 2 points, this means that you have caught the probe, you have caught the target by 3 probes, and the intersection of 3 spheres gives you 2 points, and basically each of these 2 can have 1 small sphere around it, where it potentially might be in reality. But yeah, I think I will just scan it again in 16 AU to make sure that we have a central point, then it's easier. Okay, let's focus on this one, and I will need to check once again, yeah, from the top, because my camera was at an angle when I first positioned it. And I should have reduced the scanning range, but yeah. Let's do that immediately when we complete the scan. Actually, we can move halfway here and halfway here. This gives us additional information about location. In theory, you can keep spamming those at a very high range and just memorize the locations probably, and then take an average of those locations. That is going to take a lot of time, but in theory you can scan everything down by just using highest resolution and then pinpoint the location, then put your probes right on top of that and use the smallest scan range to locate things. But this is like highly theoretical concept. And you will need to use a lot of triangulation math to do that. For example, right now this point shows that it is 6.89 AUs from me, so if you had 4 people or 4 screens which were located, okay, yeah, it's not really sensible from that way. You will have to warp yourself after every scan to 4 different points, and knowing the locations of those points that you can get from basically EVE Online databases for locations of those planets. They have coordinates X, Y, and Z there. And then you will have to warp to 4 different planets and then record the distance of the scanned result from those planets. And from there, you will be able to basically calculate. Okay, this is a data site. I don't have a data scanning module, and I don't care about data sites. They have even less yield in terms of loot than those relics. So yeah, let's head back to the high security space, and I will just right click and scoop this container to cargo hold. It will appear in my cargo right with all the stuff that it was there, which is useful. And now I need to use Pochven filament. So I will put it into my cargo. Probes are out and D-scan is clear. And we are on a safe spot with no timers. So I think we will have to switch safety again to yellow, otherwise it will not let us use this. And I will use Pochven filaments to get into the Pochven. Okay. Well, in Pochven you don't really see local. And you can see that there are some NPCs nearby, which means that our spot is really unsafe because it's in the grid with something. So let's warp to a random planet immediately. And let's make a spot somewhere. Now we need to survive 15 minutes, basically. You can see the timer. Once this timer is out, we will be able to use another filament and just get out of here. So let's prepare this one and let's go back to the spot. And in order to safely survive this, we can just go and dock up in this station. You have permission to dock in all of the stations unless you have negative standings with Triglavians. The only thing why you would not do that is because, well, you don't see who is here in this system. You don't know if they fly any cloaked ship or any force recon. They might be. There might be some activity going on that we don't notice. And the only way to make sure that there is no one near us is to basically warp around. And the problem is with station is that when you dock there, whenever you will want to undock, you will want to have a safe way to get out. And the problem is that people might use warp interdictors and area of effects interdiction to prevent you from warping out immediately when you are undocking. So that's not the safe way. The safe way is really to just be active and see that you are not, there are no probes on the D-scan, there are no ships on D-scan, and just warp around. I will open the map and have our make a little bit better spot while I'm here. So right now I am where I am actually on the map. Yeah, here. So I am between something. I don't really recall from where I was warping, but I guess it would be safe to warp here. I think Moon 2 will be fine. And make a probe, make a location in between this location and this planet. So on this straight line. And I will remove my old spot because it is not really a safe one. Now we have a spot that is located more or less in the middle of nowhere from the perspective of the system. You cannot just fly to one place and D-scan direction straight to that spot. Because with more than D-scan you can really easily pinpoint the location of a spot. Okay, and you can see that somebody is doing scanning. I don't see who does that. There is some heron on the D-scan. Maybe that's it. Maybe it isn't. But I would prefer not to check that out. We have still 10 minutes left. And the way I am going to protect myself further, I will pick up one group of objects from here. Preferably some group that it has a lot of objects in it, which are warpable. Like this 4, 2, 3, not very good. Still, well, let's... Oh, okay, that's because probably we don't see moons here. Can we see them now? No. But anyway, let's first align to this at least. And let's keep scanning. And meanwhile, let's see if we can add moons to the overview. So in Celestial Top we want to add moon. Yep. And now this is a really Warp 2 preset. We can save it. And let's see if we still don't see it here. And we want to have the same Warp 2 preset in brackets. Brackets are the things that you see when you are turning your ship around. And if you do, you can change the composition of those as well. But I still don't see moons. What's wrong? Let's just pick any planet with a lot of moons. Let's say this one. And let's align to it. The thing is, when somebody will try to catch us, if they will scan our spot down, and they will warp here, they will appear in our overview, and at that moment we will be able to warp into one of these. You will know in advance where I am going to warp, but the person who will try to scan us and catch us, they will not. And they will have 5 options for which they will have different warp distances at which we were possibly heading. So they will really have bad time catching up with us. Another thing that you can do that will improve your survivability in one way but will reduce it in another, you can enable your micro warp drive and keep it on. This will make it much easier for other people to scan you down, but the principle of scanning is such that they will scan you down at the moment and they will get your location at the moment when scan ends. After that, you will have, let's say, 10 to 20, maybe even 30 seconds before they will be able to warp down to this location. And since you have micro warp drive on, you will be already 60 kilometers away from that place. So this, even if they scan you down, they will end up 16 kilometers behind. This helps a lot, especially if they fly a cloaked ship, because in a cloaked ship you cannot really run 2 kilometers per second. So they will have to decloak, and you will be able to see them in overview. With this, basically, if you have a capacitor stable fitting. In my case, I think I should have. Just need to disable the modules that we don't actually use. Yes, I have a capacitor stable fit, so I can run this micro warp drive continuously, and this saves me basically the effort. I can just run and run and run, and if somebody will try to scan me down again later, they will be able to do that, even like if they fly in a cloaked ship, but they will still have to basically warp. They will be warping with some lag behind me. And in the best possible case, they will be warping at least 10 seconds behind me, which means that I will be outside of disruptor range when they decloak. Similarly, they will not be able to warp anyone else on their behalf. Normally, a scanner ship will just use fleet warp to send some combat ship onto you, but in this case, it would not make any sense for them. If you have a fast ship like Interceptor or fast flying frigate, not the recon, not the exploration frigate, but something which is a base for interceptors, you will have 3-4 kilometers per second speed. At this point, you can just basically locate yourself for some random point in space, click there and enable micro warp drive, and even if you are scanned down, even if somebody tries to catch up with you, it will take them so much time that you can basically be semi-AFK at that point. You will notice that somebody is in overview trying to approach you, or flies around you in very weird patterns, because basically what they will need to do, they will need to warp, they will need to locate the place where you are heading. And if you are heading into some safe spot, another safe spot, then they will not be able to do that at all. But if you, like in this case, head to some warp out place, like a moon, then you will be able to, then they will be able to basically warp ahead of you a little bit, just maybe 1,000-2,000 kilometers, and just wait for you to get there, if you are completely AFK. But if you are not, then you will notice that and just change direction. So we have 3.5 minutes left. Our booty is 17.5 million, so we are getting plus 10 million ISK. I could have stayed in nullsec longer, but I don't have much time today. But for you, when you are doing this kind of activity, you just deploy a small secure container in every system where you got some loot, store your loot there, and then go to another one. In the worst possible case, if you die and you have to, you will lose access to that nullsec, you will eventually, at some point in time, get back to that nullsec because of randomness of these noise probes. And then you will have opportunity to just get your loot back. It will just not be accessible to you for some time. Two minutes and a half. And I don't see any combat scanning probes nearby, like not even nearby, even in 14 AU, which means that nobody is even trying to scan anything down. Nobody cares about probe, which is a good sign. I wonder if people will realize that actually a lot of exploration ships that end up in the Pochven are actually people returning from nullsec with a lot of stuff in cargo and start hunting for them actively. That would be something. But at the moment, this is a more or less safe way to return. Our capacitor keeps making annoying sounds because of this theoretical stability, which ends up making a little bit less capacitors than we need. 1 minute left. We're still in yellow safety, which is where we have to be. And let's get out. Yeah, as you can see, those proximity extractions filaments are rather expensive, so you want to have something in your cargo before you exit. I would say when you have 40-50 million in loot, that already makes enough sense. And we ended up, I guess, a little, not very far from Jita. Let's see. We are not having any Concord flags, so people will not be able to just kill us. We just have a log off flag, which means, well, nothing really. We just cannot safely log off in the space, but we can dock. 4 jumps away from Jita. I think we can just hold things directly ourselves. Normally that would not be recommended, but this is a very high security space and we really have so little cargo that we can just get to the hub and sell it there. And I guess that will be all for today. Thank you for watching, and fly safe and get some sweet loot from nullsec. I think that's actually a more or less profitable enterprise and rather interesting ones, and the one that gives you some basic understanding on how to survive in null security space, how not to get killed for nothing. So good luck with that, and Unkind Omen out.